I have never seen a controversy regarding a major PlayStation IP. This Final Fantasy VII thing has really put a lot of things into perspective for me. I usually on this channel focus on the severe bias against Nintendo. I talk about how great certain games are, how dedicated the journalists and YouTubers are in attacking certain games, in attacking certain franchises, in overhyping certain developers and underplaying certain others. I find it very, very irritating how a lot of my favorite games over the past several years have been written off and ignored, often before they even come out. You know what I mean? It feels like a lot of these really, some of my favorite Nintendo games, including The Wonderful 101, Star Fox Zero, uh, The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, Kid Icarus Uprising, even stuff like Fire Emblem Awakening and things like that. They don't get nearly the amount of attention and praise that they deserve. You know what I mean? Like, these are some of the best games that have been coming out from any developer in the past decade. And the industry as a whole does not want to accept that. It's incredible how games like Breath of the Wild aren't being referred to as the best open world game ever made. If Breath of the Wild was made by another company, if it was made on PlayStation, it would be hailed as one of the biggest steps in open world gaming since Grand Theft Auto 3, but that hasn't happened. It's gotten a lot of praise and a lot of hype, but not nearly as much as it should have because it is Nintendo exclusive, right? And contrarily, we have constant failures on the PlayStation side with games like Resident Evil Remake 3, Resident Evil 3 Remake, like Knack, like Final Fantasy VII R Remake, or really any Final Fantasy game in the past several years, including Kingdom Hearts 3. You have all of these failures, right? And yet there's no real serious controversy surrounding them. It's kind of amazing when you think about it. If you think about how controversial Final Fantasy VII R was from the beginning, from the announcement that it would be episodic, that they canceled and delayed development, that they changed the combat system, that they were expanding the lore without any of the original team, that they were making all these decisions that didn't mesh well with the original game. Not a single person seriously came out and said, okay, this is fucking bullshit. I was surprised with people who were coming into my chat the other day who were telling me that I was the only person seriously calling out the problems with Final Fantasy VII R. Like, the PlayStation audience as a whole is willing to blindly just eat up everything that PlayStation just shits in front of them. You know what I mean? Anything that Square Enix just shits in front of them. It's the most exciting thing ever because it's Square Enix. It's on PlayStation. It must be revolutionary, and there's no real reasoning for it. It's kind of interesting when seeing people defend Final Fantasy VII R, seeing how they don't really like it. Like they basically just, oh, it's Final Fantasy VII and that's it. That's the reason they're excited. That's the entirety of the reason they're excited. They're not excited for the new combat. They're not excited for the expanded story elements, the episodic nature. They don't really even acknowledge that there are things that people could have problems with this release. They are just blindly accepting everything that is being put in front of them. Like, they were told to be excited for this remake, and so they are getting fired up and defending this to the death. They do not want to admit that Final Fantasy VII R, their big project for the past 5 years, or really even since PlayStation was created, is a disaster. Like, a straight up misstep, a step down from things we've gotten in the past, not as good as the original. Even like just looking at it from that perspective, like not as good as the original. Like even say if you liked Final Fantasy VII R, like I don't think there's any really arguing that it's not better than the original because the combat is worse, the storyline is worse. It's so frustrating how there was no consideration, no speculation at all on as to how good the remake was going to be. It was always from the very beginning, oh, this is going to be the best thing ever because Square Enix, Sony, they're the best. They fucked over those plebs at Nintendo. It's downright disgusting. This needs to be addressed more in that I feel that PlayStation fans are blind to their company's flaws. They are blind to the shortcomings of the developers that blindly support PlayStation over other platforms. Seeing people seriously call Naughty Dog a revolutionary developer, seeing people defend stuff like God of War 2018 and this and Horizon Zero Dawn and Knack, getting hyped for Knack and then immediately dropping it once it stopped serving its purpose, which was of course to weaponize against Mario, which is why it's become such a meme. This is a behavior I've been noticing with PlayStation fans for years, in which PlayStation fans will go around acting like they're hot shit, even when they don't know a damn thing about the games that are on other platforms. You know what I mean? Like they'll always strut around and act as if they're the best. They have the best games, the best developers, the best consoles, the best visuals, the best frame rate, the best storylines. When really, when you get right down to it, it simply is not true. They've spent years trying to discount certain Nintendo franchises and genres, rail shooters, JRPGs, traditional turn-based JRPGs, strategy games, trying to write off and ignore all these really, really great Nintendo games. How many people have shit-talked Animal Crossing over the past couple of weeks, right? Because, it's a casual game. It's a niche game for Nintendo, for girls who play Nintendo. Like, no, it's not niche. It's very successful. More successful than Final Fantasy VII R, I imagine, at this point. It is a complete mess to see. It is very, very disheartening to see people religiously defend Final Fantasy VII, Square Enix, and Sony PlayStation no matter what. These are companies that absolutely do not give people the things they want, and yet you never seriously hear people talk about that.